Hey guys, welcome to the Decryption Podcast. I'm Peter.
I'm Tanner.
And
I'm Ryan.
this is our secret special guest, Ryan, aka my little sister.
Hi.
And welcome to today's episode. Let's get straight to it.
Alright, so at the end of the last episode, we kind of told you guys we're going to get right into what caused the fire. We've been showing you guys all the suspicion around, well, pretty much the fire in general. There's a lot of red flags. I think we're at 9 different things we brought up. So now we're at topic 10. So the real question is, if the government seemed to know the fire was going to happen in advance and they're passing laws in advance to execute in the case of a forest fire or a natural emergency, what actually caused the fire? Because it was not just this regular fire. It was pretty crazy.
I'm pretty sure metal doesn't melt from a forest fire.
No.
Like,
Well, no, forest fire. So metal, where you're going to see later, there's videos of metal melting, like completely off the car. Temperatures have to be over 1,000 degrees to do that. A forest fire does not even usually get to, maybe gets to half that. But there's some really strange things we're going to show you guys. But the first thing I want to get into is my opinion, I guess. But in my opinion, it's not an opinion, but I believe, as crazy as it sounds, that the cause for these fires were literally laser beams.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know what you guys have to say. You might think it sounds crazy, but
I don't know, it seems possible, yeah.
No, it really is. I mean, you start looking at some of the details and the facts. I mean, even blue, like the fact that, what was it with the blue again? The color blue when it comes to lasers.
oh yeah. We'll get into that in just a little bit, because that is something like to pick up in itself. But before we do get into that, just so you guys know from the beginning that saying lasers is not cap. If you really believe everything the news tells you, then you know what? Believe it, because the news did tell you about it 9 years ago. Watch this clip.
We're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all, because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes. All of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting. Professor Michio Kaku, thank you so much.
In that video that was made 9 years ago, I would have been 3, and I'm 12 now, and I'm in 7th grade. I wouldn't have even been in school yet, so.
And that's crazy.
That's crazy as well.
Imagine how many more things they have going on by like
Oh,
9
yeah.
years.
Yeah. I think one thing I think is kind of funny about that is he said, I think it was the 60s, 70s, but I think it was the 60s actually. During the Vietnam War, they had this technology. And as soon as he said that, videos were recorded, allegedly. It's just like, maybe it was allegedly, right? But just some types of reactions can kind of prove certain things, you know what I mean? And she was like so quick to defend it. It was like, hey, stop, you said too much. Like, we were just supposed to tell him this to make him think we're playing the good guy role. Don't let him know we used it 40 years ago in a war. You know, at least my opinion.
No, it goes with the saying, like, the loudest bark has the smallest bite. Like, she's trying to, downplay the whole situation.
Well, she has to if she wants to keep her job.
No, that's what I'm saying.
she can't let someone go rambling about the actual truth, because I mean, we talked about in the very first episode, your corporation or your news stations are all owned by the same people. Even your far left, like CNN, and your far right, like Fox News, and everything in between, they are all owned by the same people. So, I mean,
divide and conquer.
yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't matter where you're at politically, you're being played, to be honest. You really can't trust politicians.
You can't at all.
So that's why we're trying to really get the real answers, because it's not like they're going to give us the real answers about what's actually going on with Maui. Because obviously, the questions people are trying to ask, they're shutting down. As soon as people are getting asked questions, like the mayors and stuff, they're fleeing. So this brings me to the next point about laser beams as well. This is why I think it's the laser beams that cause this fire. I'm going to show you guys this video. Look how precise and how hot this fire was. But keep in mind, look at the grass around it, okay? And just keep in mind, the temperature to melt metal and the temperature to catch grass on fire is a pretty big difference. So just keep that in mind when you watch this video, because this is pretty crazy. I have no explanation for this. If you do, please let me know, because I'm begging for an explanation. I don't know any other explanation except laser beams. So check it out.
Luna High School, in the neighborhood that did not, I repeat, did not burn. You can see all these houses are standing around here, unburned. There's no burn here, okay? So to me, this is like something out of a space movie, because you have this small field with some grass that burned, right? You can see where the grass burned. But then you have these two vehicles sitting in here that have melted aluminum. So Donovan, if you want to just take us through this car real quick and show us, I know you know a few things about cars, you can point out some things that require a very high temperature. By the way, we just talked to the neighbor who was talking to an investigator in Lahaina Town yesterday, and he said the investigator told him the temperatures reached in excess of 3,000 degrees. So tell us what you got, Donovan.
Well, we have about 300 degrees for aluminum, and this
300?
1300.
1300, okay, thank you.
1300, well, 1220, but if you round it up, because it was not only melted, it was liquefied to the point where it
ran
became
down the side
a river of aluminum going down the dirt hill.
So this is the aluminum rim, obviously. There's the tire, what's left of it, the steel threads or steel belts.
And maybe combination gas tank if the gas tank's aluminum.
Okay, okay. So you have liquefied aluminum running down the side of a grass fire.
The caliper melted, unless they stole it, but it looks like the bolts are still there. So that, and then you get the belt, the steel belt of the tire, which is just a bunch of a wire mesh laying there, and you have the windows that were melted, the back window. If you look at the big old, like almost like
the glass is just melted.
Yeah, it was
dripping.
This is almost what you would see if you put a car in an incinerator.
But this is not surrounded by a bunch of structure fires or anything.
Yeah, there's no fuel.
So besides the gas that was in the tank, what's your theory on what could create temperatures of this level in the middle of a field?
Anomaly, I think is the word.
So this is the second anomaly.
Yeah, it's just that's why I stopped. I looked at it, I'm like, okay, house. Nothing's burned, and then you have melted steel and glass, and then the only thing that is left is the steel, the thick steel frame, and then the steel sheet metal.
So I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet, but the media has not been given access to Lahaina Town. Everything is locked up. Matter of fact, this gentleman next door, he was on Front Street yesterday, and he was supposed to get access, and then the mayor shut it down because people were taking pictures. So they don't want pictures taken of anything in Lahaina Town, because they don't want you to see this, would be my guess. Because the more that you take a look at this, and especially in this scenario, if there was a car like this in the middle of Lahaina, you might think to yourself, well, okay, it was in the middle of this major burn. There's an animal that died here or something. I'm smelling a, that
That
looks
must
like
be a cat that was under there.
that smells like a dead something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
Maybe.
sad. That is so sad. That's someone's dog.
Yeah, it's definitely dog food.
Oh. So now we have another vehicle right next to it. Talk to me about this one, Don.
Yeah,
What are you seeing?
It's symmetrical with the other one. They're
Yes.
pretty much identical. I mean, the heat is just tremendous, tremendous heat. Melting glass, melting metal, incinerating the tires to the point of, the only thing you see is the steel belts, which actually fall apart like spaghetti noodles when you touch it.
So the media is not allowed in here. No one's allowed in Lahaina town. So the only way this message is going to get out right now is if you, until your fingers bleed for America, start sharing this video.
Look what it did to the steering wheel. All it is the steering column.
We the people is all we got left here. And the more we get the word out and the more people start seeing this crazy anomaly, and we're seeing it in a lot of different places. Donovan here has been on a scooter. He was at the scene of the crime the day of the fire. He was helping people, rerouting them away from Lahaina as the cops had not blocked the southbound traffic until you got almost to Front Street.
Grass.
And notice the green grass here. Now, it's only been 2 weeks. I don't know if that's 2 weeks.
2 weeks of growth?
Is that 2 weeks of growth? We have green grass. You think is that 2 weeks of growth? Okay, maybe it is. But there's a lot of green grass here. I don't know.
Yeah,
Someone tell me how fast does grass grow? Is that 2 weeks of growth? Someone dumped some trash in there, right? I wonder who did that. It's kind of weird.
Some nice people.
Some nice people.
Yeah.
Lazy.
But if you don't share this story, I don't know who will, man. Someone's got to start putting this out to the people that can help. I've had people tell me, hey, you guys got to go do something. Really? We just got like a little 5G back and it doesn't even work. Every phone call we make drops. Right? Do you hear what's going on here? Are you hearing me loud and clear? They are creating a situation where it's impossible for us to communicate. Right now, I'm on a Starlink that's in the back of my truck over there. Thank you, David Crawford. So that's the reason I'm able to transmit this message, assuming you're getting it. If you're not, I have it recorded, and I will post it after we go live.
See if you can get down and let's see inside the motor.
Does this the hood come up?
Oh, the motor's melted.
The motor's gone.
It looks like the block is melted.
And what's the block made out of?
Probably aluminum.
Probably aluminum.
If it melted, yeah. An iron block usually would hold out a little bit longer.
I mean, is it possible that they're making these cars with different types of materials that just have a lower melting point? But even if they did,
Oh, look at
it wouldn't make any sense because we're in a field with just a little bit of grass.
The block is still there. It's turned sideways.
The block is still
But
there?
the aluminum valve cover is still melted to death.
So can a grass fire,
But how does it burn underneath the hood? That's the thing.
underneath the hood is protecting it from heat, right?
Or oxygen.
Oxygen.
You can't get in there.
Right. So you have no combustion. And again, if you're just tuning into this live, the edge of the fire went to that little grass. This was all just grass, no trees. You can see a couple trees right there. It just went to the edge of the sidewalk. I mean, not even to the sidewalk. It just went inside of this fence, and then it stopped right before it got to this guy's thing, this guy's house. And just to orientate you here, you can see the roadblock of the National Guard right there. That is where the fire burn area starts at the top. Not the top, but of Lahaina Luna. Sorry guys, I'm all over the map here. That, if you can see that blockade, that's actually where the burn zone is. So the fire was down there, okay? The fire was down there. This is above we're above the bypass. The fire was below the bypass. There was no fire here, except for this little tiny field.
Supposedly it only started a quarter mile away.
So we're gonna go there next?
We can and go take a look.
Next we're gonna go to where we think the fire may have started. This is interesting too. Is this 2 weeks worth of grass growth? Maybe it is.
No, it looks like the fire mist right there.
Interesting.
But you notice that house is untouched there.
Now let's just scan the houses next door so you can see for yourself that all these homes are perfectly fine. So there's no fuel to create the fire that's powerful enough. It's like if you burned your campfire next to your car and then this happened to your car next.
Well, everybody's thrown beer bottles or bottles in their campfire.
Right.
And I mean, look at the windshield. It's almost gone in the back windows.
So does everyone just need to go take a little Wikipedia tour on the melting points of things and just do some research?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is that a good idea? So, because I didn't know much about melting points before all this started, and I'm a skeptic when it comes to all things outlandish. But to me, this is what now seems outlandish to me.
Okay, guys. So obviously that was pretty strange. I mean, to say the least, because like Tanner said, I don't know how often you see burnt metal, not even burnt, like melted, literally melted
Liquefied,
metal,
yeah.
liquefied metal, and then green grass.
Yep.
Like, okay, whatever, right? We're just gonna brush that off, I guess. But that's the problem, is that's what we just keep on doing as a society, is we keep seeing things and then we ignore it. And speaking of seeing things, why don't we talk about the green lasers that were spotted in Hawaii, literally, just a couple months ago?
Yep.
Something like that, yeah. So, I mean, in my opinion, right, it looks to me like, they're just plotting. They're like, all right, so where's the best pinpoints? How can we get away from the celebrities? Because ironically, remember, everybody's talking about this part. None of the celebrities' land caught on fire, right?
Yep.
And there were green lasers being showed a couple months ago.
Yep.
And I mean, if there's green grass and melted metal and no celebrities' houses on fire, but a couple months ago there were lasers coming out from the sky, kind of, scanning
One at a
things.
time.
That's what I mean. It's almost like they're just sitting here like, all right, we're gonna burn this part. We're not gonna burn this part. We're gonna burn this part. We're not gonna burn this part. And I hate to like almost treat it like a joke because you know I can self-reflect. I can look at the way I'm doing things, but at this point it's like, man, this is what it'll take to help wake up society because someone's gonna be in the comments like, you shouldn't be talking about it like that. Well, you should be doing something about it. You know, because that's what I'm trying to do. So that's the biggest thing. I mean, we got to do something. So I guess this is just a start.
Agreed. So for all you guys saying, oh no, they wouldn't shoot laser beams down in Hawaii. Well, they did. And you know we got you. Here's the proof.
Last month, a camera from a telescope on Mauna Kea, Hawaii's tallest mountain, captured something eerie, a wall of green lasers visibly shooting across the sky. The light show, which has been described as resembling the green code from The Matrix, occurred on January 28 and was caught by a camera operated by the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan, NAOJ. Initially, NAOJ said in a YouTube video that the lasers had come from NASA's ICESat-2 satellite, which maps and measures Earth's surface in three-dimensional detail to keep track of sea ice and forests. If it was ICESat-2, the lasers would have come from its Advanced Topographic Laser Altimeter, ATLAS, instrument, which emits laser beams that NASA says are bright green on the visible spectrum. Mystery put to bed? Think again. On February 6, NASA confirmed that its satellite was not the source of the green lasers over Hawaii.
So, if you guys were wondering, that clip, you might have seen it, it went viral on TikTok like 3 months ago. But it went so viral on TikTok, it was actually brought to NASA's attention. NASA literally said this was not us. Some people thought it was some testing they were doing. They said no, it wasn't us. It was also brought to the attention of our military, the United States military. They also said no, it wasn't us. So, I mean, clearly, as you could see, it was something. You know,
it was somebody.
Clearly, it was something and somebody. I'm gonna be willing to bet someone out there knows what it was. They just don't want us to know. So they also were clearly laser beams. That's not even up for debate. That if you don't call that a laser beam, I don't know what.
If you know what a laser beam is.
Yeah, exactly. So the only other thing you could maybe think of to argue that is it's a terrorist attack and it was like China or something. Which, I mean, it could be.
I mean, even then, that still sounds like another narrative to push, if you ask me.
Exactly. If that's the case, we should also know about it. So, like, either way, it doesn't matter. Like, something. I still think it was our own government, and it's a push for 2030 smart cities. But I mean, you can make an argument that
allegedly, it's allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. But that will bring us into our next topic.
Yeah, which is crazy. Because tell me how. There's literally a video of this, right, of the start of the fire, because this video here is in Maui, and people are still questioning things. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you see how this literally starts from the top.
As we're sharing video of what may have helped start those devastating Maui wildfires.
It's windy, and then there's a flash, and I think that's when a tree's falling on a power line.
The witness describing the effects of high winds on the island. One expert saying that flash could be the first evidence of what started those massive fires near the city of Lahaina. The blaze has leveled homes and businesses there, causing billions of dollars in estimated damage. So far, 106 people confirmed dead.
Okay, so that's already pretty odd in itself, if you ask me, to be honest. I mean, like, the cameras are already high at a, higher point because they're looking downwards. So the power lines would have been, kind of even with the area. At least that's what I'm assuming, right? Mm-hmm. But the flash and stuff, you can clearly tell it came from the top. And the guy in the interview himself, he said that the fire is what knocked down the power lines. But I thought the power lines were what caused the fire. So which one is it? Because some people are claiming that the fire knocked down the power grid, but then some people are saying that the power grid is what started the fire. So to me, it just sounds like a lot of mahogany. I don't even know what the right word is. Like, it just sounds like a whole lot of bullshit. You know.
Yeah, and also like power lines cannot be that bright. Like you're stupid if you think that power lines are that bright. Like if they fall, like it's just gonna have a few sparks, right? They're not that bright.
Yeah, no, that was definitely like a shower of lights. Like
yeah.
And I mean, we could be wrong. Don't get us wrong. People aren't always right. But even then,
common sense would tell us we're right.
No, that's what I'm saying. So it's just one of those things where I want to hear the next person's argument. It's just one of those.
Exactly. Things. I mean, if you genuinely disagree, you know, I am curious, and I do like to keep an open mind. So if you genuinely disagree, I mean, I would like to be enlightened because I feel very strongly on this. There's just such an overwhelming amount of evidence, I feel like. So keeping in mind what he said earlier about it's like it's coming down from the top, right? Like a forest fire has to come in from the side. What we saw from that sanctuary video was literally a beam coming down. Now, keeping that in mind, think about a boat in an open body of water, right? If the boat, now this is, I'm not talking about off a dock, I'm talking about it is fully surrounded by water. Unless there's a fire on the boat, which there's not a fire on the boat, and under that circumstance, there should be no way a boat can catch fire, right?
Right.
Okay, so what if I told you that all the boats surrounding the island, and keep in mind, I'm going to show you this helicopter view, and it's kind of hard to tell. You see a bunch of fire, but you will literally see a ring of fire, okay? When you really look in at that ring of fire, that is the ocean line, right? The ocean line should never be on fire. Fire cannot travel into the ocean. There were literally boats on fire, but the thing was, it's like this fire was contagious. All the boats were catching on fire. Now, how is that possible? Actually, how is that possible? I'm gonna let you guys see it for yourself real quick. So, watch this.
We're done. Yeah, we're done. Here's right here. There's the real. Yeah. No. No.
So as you can see, there's clearly no explanation to that. I mean, these boats were not anywhere close to the shoreline. They were all on fire. They're surrounding the entire island. Like I said, the only explanation I can think of is it had to, that fire, whatever caused that fire had to have came from above and made direct contact.
And not only that, but to go with that claim, I don't know if you guys, actually, I'm sure you guys have seen these pictures online of the blue roofs, right? Blue roofs, blue umbrellas, basically anything that was blue, even the blue cars. I mean, think about it this way. How is it that cars are melting, but somehow the blue cars aren't? So the cars around the blue cars are melting, but the blue cars aren't. That's insane. Like, fire doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and they're literally they're so well kept that you can visibly see it is blue. Like all the other cars, you can't even see like 99% of the color because they're like toasted to the ground. But the blue ones, yeah, the blue ones are like so detailed. You can see the full color. Like,
it's just wild. I mean, because you can't really, in my opinion, those are kind of like undeniable proof type of things, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
but on top of that, just to get even deeper into it, I mean, the way society works nowadays and whatnot, if you look at the color blue and you actually look at the number that it represents, because colors are actually binary, so they have a number, and the numbers that they have just can make the color. So if you go on an app like Procreate or CapCut and you go pick a color, instead of just choosing the color based on seeing it, look at the side and there should be like a hashtag and some numbers, and type in 6.66 and see what color comes up, and it'll be blue. And to anyone that's superstitious will understand that 6.66 is not some good shit.
Nope.
So if you don't want to like listen to us, do your own due diligence. and find out, because like that shit is crazy. Like there's too many coincidences for people to not catch it, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I looked up on Google. I took a screenshot here. I'm gonna show you guys. So yeah, I literally looked up the color blue on the visible, or the frequency of the color blue on the visible spectrum. Google itself will tell you 6.66. So I mean, that's pretty crazy. And something else with blue is it's actually proven that lasers don't catch blue on fire. I mean, again, don't take my word for it. Watch this.
Laser weapons can be programmed for different wavelengths. There was something blue they didn't want to burn.
Blue car did not burn in flames. Same as the blue umbrella.
now, honestly, I have no idea where I can get one of those type of lasers, because if I did, we would show you right now, like a live experience. But if any of you guys know where to get that type of laser, or if you have that type of laser, please do that at home and let me see, because I think that is just fucking crazy. Like, he literally pointed it at every single towel, right? And they all burned, except for the blue one. Like, there's nothing that he could be doing different. And to me, that's just insane, because it also kind of, like I said, it just adds fuel to the fire, no pun intended. But like, it just does not help that, you know, people are out here saying these things and showing us too, because then you look at Maui, right, and things that are blue are not getting caught on fire or getting burned that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just crazy, because people always ask for the proof or the due diligence or the research or whatever like that. But in situations like these, where everything's gonna be so underground and concrete, because you gotta think, these guys already know what they're doing. I mean, they aren't dummies, you know, they're people that have
This
done
isn't
this.
their first radio.
Yeah, not at all, not by any means. So people like this, people in this situation, they know exactly how to clean. They know exactly how to do their shit, and they move just like machines. So that's why, like, we're here to fucking clear the scene.
Yeah. I mean, we've already, tracing back to part 1, I think we've gone through about 12 different things that all deserve attention. So the fact we've been able to pull 12 things out, and there's going to be more, yes, there's going to be a part 4. The fact that we're able to pull out all this information is really, that should make you wonder, you know, like, maybe like a forest fire, there could be a couple questions asked, like a general conspiracy, but once you're able to actually, but not only bring up these 12 topics, but to have like evidence going behind it to why you really think something is suspicious, and there's things that check out for all of them, that really makes you wonder. You know what I mean? Like, things are really weird. I mean, I don't even know what to believe in. Unfortunately, I think I do know what to believe, but it's not what's best for humanity. But that pretty much wraps up this video. Next video, we're going to kind of talk about what is being done about it, because believe it or not, it's being kept very hush-hush. But there are definitely things that are happening behind the scenes. But I'm not going to spoil it too much. I'm going to save that for the next video. But it's some good news, for the most part, I think. And before you guys go, this is going to be it for us. But I have this like clip, it's like 10 minutes long. I think it's really good and informational, based off of what is kind of what we've talked about today. So I just want to let that run out for you guys. But as far as we go, I think that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. Hopefully you guys are asking some questions. And please do your own research, and please share it with your friends and family, because this is a pretty serious topic. So without further ado,
this is the Decryption Podcast.
Yep.
Yes, sir, ski.
Good having you guys.
Peace out.
These Tommy Bahama umbrellas. Did you know that's all they are? It's just regular old Tommy Bahama. But these blue umbrellas aren't the most shocking discovery of blue items that weren't burnt in the fire. Yeah, there's one way more obvious, way more suspect, and it makes a lot of sense why this is happening.
So this is the only Wi-Fi truck in all of the Napili Shopping Center.
Damn.
The third biggest hub on the west side, now that Lahaina is gone. The most people here, and this is the Wi-Fi. Why do they not want you to communicate with the rest of the world on the west side of Maui right now?
I'll tell you why, because of people like Captain Chris exposing that why are the supply lines blockaded and he has to go by boat with his local Kanakas and the local Hawaiians, exposing government blocking supply lines. That's just one thing. Maybe it's because of this gentleman who exposed he was on the highway driving and the cops routed him into Front Street and then blocked all the streets behind him. And you know what he had to do? Turn around, because there was no getting out of it. He had to drive around the cops illegally. They didn't want him to. They were trying to route him back into that crap, but this gentleman said in my previous videos, they blocked every street. Boom, boom, boom. Weird. He broke loose, went around them, and they chased him to his house. He didn't think nothing of it. He doesn't realize yet. It hasn't dawned on him yet what they did. But he knows that they corralled the people. He states it. They corralled the people. He just believes because people are good-hearted that this is just orders that's accidental. Does it seem accidental to you people out there? Well, it gets way worse. Watch this one. Look at this. A shirt store. Watch.
I see a shirt survived.
Many shirts, all blue, with the price tags on them still.
Survives a fire like that, I wonder. A shirt that says Sister Revolution. Hard to believe, huh? The whole building goes down. The whole street goes down, and then these shirts survive somehow. The Sister Revolution. A lot of them, actually. It's crazy.
A lot of them.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to auction these shirts off. The last surviving apparel from Maui. These are going to go auctioned.
Here's what you should do with those shirts. Keep them for evidence. You're going to need it. You need a forensic audit going on. Why? This is why.
What if there's more to it? Let's delve into the science of lasers, or as they're ominously termed, dews. Why? Because there's something interesting about a specific shade of blue in these energy beams. Here's the science. Certain energy rays interact differently with various colors on the spectrum. Some colors are more resistant or reflective, protecting underlying materials from harm. Remember those untouched umbrellas amidst the Lahaina devastation? Skyscraping trees untouched by disaster can be explained away. But how do you justify these seemingly invincible umbrellas?
Not the umbrellas, the shirts. With a building imploded on itself, look at it, there's nothing left, but there's blue shirts. Their tags are left because they were in between the shirts, obviously, right? I mean, who doesn't have the chills running up their spine right now from seeing these shirts come out of a flattened structure? Blue shirts. Just look at everything. Just put all the pieces together. I just want you to know that you owe this to yourself to see the truth. Because if you turn a blind eye when truth is slapping you in the face, then you are consenting to what they're doing to these people. And the biggest truth of all is that there's no more fence to straddle. It's done. Because next time it's your town. And next time it's your child. And next time it's your business. And next time it's your community that's lost. So it is up to you, because nobody can exercise your free will. Nobody can align with the truth but you. And nobody can spread the message that you can. Because you are placed here right now for this very time. For this very purpose. To stand up. You feel it in your heart, don't you? Everybody does. I know everybody does, because you can feel it in the air. Everybody knows something's wrong. It's going on worldwide, these fires. And how can anyone explain this? There's nothing that can explain these blue shirts in a collapsed, imploded, totally destroyed building. Let's look at the building as we're walking back up. Let's just
So this is the building. There ain't nothing left. There are the shirts right there. How is it possible? It's not just this. It's not just the umbrellas. Things that didn't burn. This guy's account right here is now being stalked and harassed. I wonder by who? All for his drone footage. Did you know that? The gentleman putting out all this drone footage is now being stalked, harassed, is in fear for his safety, for his family. Not for himself. He wants to speak the truth. He knows what it is. He knows it's dangerous, but he's doing it anyways. But look at that. Unscathed. Or that. How is that possible? Everybody knows this blue car. You know that blue car? People kept saying to me, that car was drove there. It wasn't drove there. That car ended there. Oh, look, there's one more blue car over there. But I'm gonna have to say that these blue t-shirts, amongst this rubble from this shirt store, clearly because it has brand new tags on it, so that was someone's store. Now, those are the most obvious thing I've ever seen. It got the umbrellas smoked out because it was literally in the rubble. Parts of it were smoking, but majority of the shirts were just fine. How is that possible? How is it possible? How do we, as a people, right? We have this brain. God gave us this brain. It has a responsibility. The responsibility is what? To exercise your rights. That's what your responsibility is. Because anything else is consenting to what's playing around you. And maybe we've been indoctrinated to listen, to follow orders like we're seeing all over the place. Have you seen all the order following that people are just like, I'm only following orders? It makes a lot of sense how a lot of tragedies and genocides have happened over the, history. Look at this one. This is in Canada.
Definitely
Canada.
A problem. I am feeding the whole town right now.
I've been ordered not to let anyone across the bridge, so you can go through CSRD and see if they'll let you through, but right now you're not allowed across the bridge.
The spot fires aren't on my property, but the 100 acres of bush. That's where the liability issue comes in. That's when you can't be out.
I also just want to know, so if I walk across right now,
You can't.
so I'm going to be arrested if I go across that bridge? So who just told me that I can walk? So I'm literally cannot get over there. Why are we wasting these resources right now on this?
That's just the way it is. It happened and nobody's allowed across the bridge.
Okay, what has happened exactly? So you were instructed to stop everyone who comes across this bridge?
Correct.
And so for what reason?
I was given an order and I'm following that order.
Okay, what is the order exactly?
To not let anyone across the bridge.
Is that your official position? The bush that behind where if there is a fire that happens and it comes straight to my place, like you don't understand, save your house, but when that bush is behind and I can run out there with a shovel and buckets of water and put out 30 spot fires in a day,
save that old lady's house,
I can save 10
she's
people's
gonna
houses.
burn down
And possibly be in the way of wildfires or other firefighting opportunities.
There is nobody out here besides us.
At least they had some water to fight. So I'm sure he's going to say, hey, I'm just following orders. Well, I have something to tell you. We the people, we'd like to follow you too. At least to prison for a lifetime sentence. That's the least you deserve. A lot of people may think, oh, this is all coincidence. Except it ain't. Except it led to so much loss of life. Following orders that cause death or violate people's rights like you're seeing in Canada. Or here right now. It's here right now too. In Maui, they're giving out permission slips just to travel from different parts of the island. And I'm not talking about Lahaina. This is just any town. If you're going to travel in Maui, you need a permission slip now. And people are lining up. You don't have to, guys. Maybe it's just, everybody has to figure out what's going on, go through this as an experience. But I'm telling you, this is a violation of your rights. No different than them not letting you put your house out. No different than it is your right to have water to fend for fires. They can't just turn off the water. If they do, they only get away with it if we do nothing.
We were fighting. We felt like we were winning. We were keeping it at bay, keeping it off of the properties. The water shut off. Even the firemen that were patrolling couldn't refill their trucks.
The president, within 6 hours, met our needs with the federal movement. 6 hours. I don't think that's ever happened.
Well, let's get right into this. Everybody who wants to know the truth, here you go. Type this in. Governor Josh Green, Agenda 2030. You want to know how they can implement this worldwide? You want to know how they can implement this worldwide? You want to know how they can turn off the water in Canada in some location and also turn the water off in Maui in some locations? How is all this possible? Let me show you. Governor Green goes to the United Nations to talk about Hawaii. Oh, except he was the keynote speaker for this right here, Agenda 2030. You know, the one where you'll own nothing and be happy? The government just needs to tax you for climate change, even though they can't solve world hunger? Go read the article. Invest into yourself. The speakers who were invited to help implement the United Nations Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals in 2030. He was the keynote speaker, Governor Josh Green. And isn't he acting like one? Yes, he is. It's happening right now in real time. And what are you going to do about it is the real question. Nothing changes until we the people stand together, united, not divided. This is what brings change. It is by you and me, and we the people. If you have a soul, I'm talking to you. Be the change you want to see. State Nationals rock.